Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest. Ryker, we're deep in the heart of the offseason now, and the big free agents, they've all been swallowed up, but the Toronto Raptors have to be looking towards the future. And our current superstar, arguably our best player going into next season, Pascal Siakam, he has 1 year left on his rookie scale contract until the Toronto Raptors have to make some big decisions, and those decisions could be made this offseason. There's a couple things we can do, but first things first, do you think the Toronto Raptors should go all out and give Pascal Siakam a rookie extension, or should they wait till restricted free agency next season?
Ben, it's a really good conversation to have because Pascal Siakam is no longer a diamond in the rough. He has emerged as a player that's going to be a priority on any team's roster, and we know that after this season, we go from 12th highest payroll team in the NBA at $115 million down to $12 million players or total players on salary into next season because all of the contracts expire. So we have the money to give him max dollars, or we can figure it out. We don't know what game Masai Ujiri is playing, but I think we have a good indication of what the future for Pascal Siakam will be, but we'll discuss that in a minute. First, we'll start with announcing last week's Stance giveaway. That goes to, you'll put it onto the screen. I can't even remember the name. It's not in front of me, right? I think it was Tasman. And fantastic message. Thank you for the support. So you're getting those cool gray retro Stance socks. And although it's not going to be our weekly giveaway at any time, we'll be checking on the comments in the Apple podcast. So if you leave comments periodically, we'll just be doing giveaways for fun. We're trying to boost both platforms. So get over there. If you like the YouTube content, go over there and give a like to the non-YouTube platforms as well. But this week, Ben, all we're doing, a simple one, like, subscribe, comment. I would like to see 1,000 likes, at least 300-400 comments. I know people are going to be watching this, so if you want, I haven't reached into our infinite goodie bag of Stance socks, but somebody, as long as you do those three things, that's what you're getting. But Ben, no further ado, let's get into this. Pascal Siakam,
Yes,
contracts. Let's talk about it.
certainly, and shout out to Stans for supporting the channel. But yeah, so the Toronto Raptors, they can extend him this offseason, do something similar to what the Nuggets did to Jamal Murray and give him a contract extension, because those 2016 players are eligible for those 5-year extensions now. Or they can wait to let Pascal Siakam enter restricted free agency and see what other teams are offering him. And, you know, the expectation is that Pascal Siakam is going to get paid, but do you think Pascal Siakam will demand the max on the open market, or do you think the Raptors could snag him and should be willing to risk paying him, you know, less this offseason, or waiting till restricted free agency to pay him less?
It's really a business question at the heart of it, because this is a guy, he's very humble. He wouldn't be in the position that he is if he didn't have a very good humility and work ethic about him. But now that he's asserted himself, he has the ability to test the waters. So you have it two ways.
Yep.
You can give him a contract, you can maybe undershoot what he is worth, right? And maybe make him unhappy. The Raptors might be concerned about overspending, right? So this is when you would want to maybe let him become a free agent to see what, like you said, what other teams are offering him, so then you can match it. You can really gauge then exactly what his market value is. But I don't know if he'll be coming in at max contract numbers. I think he's going to be high, because if we look at case studies of Bismack Biyombo, who only took one good playoff outbreak for the Toronto Raptors and then got snatched away at a $17 million a year, I believe it was, contract, I think Pascal Siakam can at least command $20 million a year, and I think that's an easy guess.
Yeah, well, I think we could be looking at even bigger numbers for Pascal Siakam, because he's an interesting case, because his 2016 season, his rookie year, averaged 4 points per game, didn't have much of an impact. Last year, 8 points per game, 7 points per game, was pretty impactful, but only on the bench mob, and didn't do too much in the playoffs, wasn't an integral piece. And this season, he became our second best scorer, 17 points per game, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and proved all around one most improved player. And there's been significant increases in his output on the court over the course of his career. So even though a guy that averages 17 points per game and 7 rebounds might not necessarily command that money at face value, the way he's improved and the way he's looking like he's improved over this offseason, we could probably make a video in itself on Pascal Siakam's development from everything we've seen at Rico Hines. But
well, Ben,
regardless, a player
it's along that same train of thought. Is it worth it to give? We just saw it with Ben Simmons because he has been good, but he hasn't been extremely impressive yet. We saw the same thing with Andrew Wiggins, right? Players being given the max contract before they've actually reached the plateau of greatness. They're on a very good exponential trajectory, but is it worth it to take that gamble? It looks like it might pay off with Ben Simmons. Definitely didn't pay off with Andrew Wiggins. What do you think about Pascal Siakam?
Well, it's interesting because I think, in my opinion, if I was Masai Ujiri right now, I give Pascal Siakam what he wants. If that is that max, you might just have to do it to keep him happy, to keep him, as a Toronto Raptor. Shows that the franchise believes in him and his future, even though, as you mentioned, it is a risk because we've seen a couple of these contracts given out this season in Ben Simmons and Jamal Murray, but we've seen it backfire on some players in the past, including Andrew Wiggins, as you brought up. So it can go both ways. In most cases, it works out in players like Anthony Davis, John Wall on that extension that he's had.
John Wall is a terrible example to bring up. He's plaguing that team right now.
Well, on his rookie year, after his rookie contract, he gave them 4 or 5 good seasons in the playoffs and deep runs.
But his Supermax contract is one of the biggest. That's one of the biggest mistakes in the NBA right now.
Yeah, but not the Supermax deal. Because Siakam will have to wait, 5-6 more seasons to get that sort of money. But Pascal Siakam, it's interesting because Jamal just got that, and this is the player I want to bring up because he's only averaging 18 points per game, 5 assists, and I'm a huge fan of his game as well, but he got paid that 5-year, $171 million extension. Ben Simmons did as well. He very much struggled in the playoffs. He has some good stats, but, I think Pascal Siakam probably, despite the fact Simmons has an all-star appearance, Siakam's probably the best player out of those 3 so far. At least this season was the best player out of those 3. He won a championship, was arguably the 2nd or 3rd best player on a championship team. So I think Siakam's the most established. He's on the best roster, and now he's going to be the A-list guy on these rosters where Simmons and Murray are beta guys to Jokic.
Better, but I think that Pascal Siakam was a beta guy to Kyle Lowry, to Kawhi Leonard. There was a few games where he overperformed.
But he's going to be asked to be a star. He's going to be asked to be the face. He will,
but I think Jamal Murray, if we're talking about raw talent this most recent season, Jamal Murray overplayed Pascal Siakam just in terms of clutchness at times. I mean, that's probably going to be a hot take in the comment section, but I think that they're probably neck and neck, but definitely Ben Simmons at the bottom. But Ben, I agree with everything that you're saying here, and now this is the next tough question, the next curveball that I have to throw at you. I'm interested for your opinion, is that, okay, we're going to take whether you call it a gamble or an investment, I would lean towards investment because what we've seen, and especially the same thing, Jimmy Butler just left the 76ers. The Denver Nuggets are seeing what's happening around the league. You got to lock your players in young, or else you give them a short-term contract and they might leave for a bigger market, and then you're left with a person who becomes great in the future. So the question is, say we give Pascal Siakam a lot of money, max money, okay? And all of our contracts are expiring next season, which they are basically, except for Norman Powell. Is it, I don't want to say is it worth it, but what are we looking at then when it comes to free agency? Because if we start giving max money to guys that are not yet superstar players, we're giving max money to guys that you would give the same amount of money to the Kawhi Leonards and the Paul Georges and whoever else you want to say, right, in the league. Is our then free agency strategy to get a bunch of bottom, low contract players to put around Pascal Siakam? Or would it be better to maybe reconsider giving him max money, give him something less if it's possible, and then get a couple of average players like the Tobias Harrises and the mid-range players in the NBA? Like, we do have to consider that there's not going to be a huge pull if we give a lot of money to Fred and we give a lot of money to Pascal, which I expect we'll do both of them.
Well, Riker, the thing about the Toronto Raptors now going forward is they're going to be going young. At least, even though they're keeping the veterans around in terms of Kyle Lowry, Marc Gasol, Serge Ibaka, the core now is going to be focused on the young players, whether it be Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, Norman Powell maybe if he can show some signs of consistency next season. But that's the direction the Raptors are going to be looking, and right now, even though some may argue OG has the most potential out of the 3 guys, Pascal Siakam is by far shown the most out of our young players. Fred VanVleet has been phenomenal. OG has shown spurts of potential. Norm looks like Michael Jordan against the Bucks, but in terms of all-around play, Siakam's that guy, and it's debatable, but he's either at par or higher than the other rookie players that are getting these contract extensions. The Toronto Raptors are going to have to pay Pascal Siakam this money. The only reason you don't pay him this max dollar now is if you think he's not going to improve or he's going to regress next season. I think everyone's of the belief Pascal Siakam's his trajectory's only up. Now, that could be a risk in terms of the Andrew Wiggins, Jabari Parker situations that have occurred, but, we are... It'll be foolish, I think, in my opinion, to not give Siakam, not give him the trust of the organization that he can develop like the Nuggets and the Sixers have done for their rookies. I don't know about you, Riker, but the Raptors are going young. Siakam's a great young piece. We're probably not going to bring in any A-list free agents that, next offseason. So I think it makes sense to extend him and keep more space open for 2021 when all of the free agents are ready, including Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, and I wasn't pushing for you to actually go in the other direction. I concur with what you were saying. Mm-hmm. I'm of the opinion, pay the man, you're going to have to, or somebody else will, and figure out the rest of the pieces, as opposed to figuring out how he can be a piece in a larger system. I think he is going to become a central part of the Raptors franchise moving forward. I would be surprised if he didn't. And in terms of what kind of dollars he's going to get, I would expect something in the range of 22 million plus, a max contract.
It's going to be higher, Riker. 5 year, 171 million.
Well, then there you go.
That's the precedent.
I definitely agree. The only thing left is they don't need to pay him right this second if they don't want to. And I still think there could be a bigger play for a Bradley Beal. I believe it. There's not a lot of chatter about it yet. It's a move that makes sense to me. If I saw we brought one more proven player into the Toronto Raptors team, then we give Siakam that money, get Fred VanVleet signed on to a longer time. We'd have a really good package for Giannis Antetokounmpo. And also shout out to, let me see here. Who is it? Neon Tai. Apparently we were butchering Antetokounmpo's proper Greek pronunciation of the name. He tried to give me the breakdown of how you actually say it, and I still wouldn't be able to pronounce it, to be honest, but there you go. But I digress. Back to the main point. I agree with what you're saying, Ben. And when do you expect? What's the time frame here? Are we going to give him money soon, or is it going to be farther away? Farther down the line.
Well, it has to occur this summer for the extension to happen, as we've seen them roll in for the other rookies that have gotten this big deal, or we can wait, play out the season, see what restricted free agency brings Siakam. But expect that extension to be announced soon. Masai Ujiri talked about how they were going to talk about this extension with Siakam in mid-July. Maybe he's trying to finesse him for a few extra dollars to save the team money going forward, some flexibility. But all indications show that Siakam's probably going to get this contract considering who's gotten this money. But let us know what you guys think. Do you think the Toronto Raptors should give Siakam the bag, give him this big contract, or should they wait to restricted free agency and wait till he's more established in this league? Let us know in the comment section below. You're the best for making it this far. Check out the Twitter, the Instagram, all that cool stuff. Riker, you have any last words?
Spicy Pete. That's it. Cheers.